After a disappointing first year under Kalen DeBoer, Alabama has lost Jalen Milroe to the NFL draft, and there's a current quarterback battle going on with the likely winner being Ty Simpson. He was a guy that Saban recruited, and I think he's going to turn out pretty solid for the Crimson Tide, hopefully leading them to a better season in 2025. The first game going to be pretty difficult, honestly, on the road against Florida State. It's a very tough environment, and this is one of the games that I'm actually looking forward to the most in week one. It should honestly be a really good game. Florida State bringing in Thomas Castellanos, who is a pretty solid quarterback out of Boston College. I think that the Noles are going to be able to make this competitive, but let's be honest, the Crimson Tide are the more talented team, and they should get this win on the road to move to 1-0. And then Louisiana Monroe the second week should be a piece of cake as well, moving them to 2-0.
Then they play Wisconsin. Wisconsin has arguably the hardest schedule in all of college football next season, comparable to the likes of Florida and Oklahoma. Just tough team after tough team in the Big Ten, not to mention this non-conference game against Alabama. Even with the departure of Jalen Milroe, they still have Ryan Williams, who is arguably the second best wide receiver in college football, right behind Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is going to be for Alabama next season. Either guy is going to know, get the ball to Ryan Williams, and good things will happen. Now, the interesting thing is going to be the running back position, considering Jalen Milroe accounted for 20 touchdowns on the ground last season and was their leading rusher. They lost Justice Haynes to the transfer portal. He is now at Michigan. They do have Jam Miller coming back, who was their lead back last season. He needs to take on a little bit bigger of a role to keep the pressure off of the Alabama quarterbacks. But in a game against Wisconsin, where this team is not very talented and has been in a downward spiral for years, it's not going to matter. Alabama's going to be able to go and get the job done.
Yeah, and they'll be 3-0 coming out of their first bye week to face Georgia. Now, this is going to be another really good game. The Bulldogs going to have Gunnar Stockton at quarterback after Carson Beck transferred to Miami. Stockton should lead a pretty solid Georgia offense, and every team that Georgia has under Kirby Smart is going to be a really good team. They're going to have a great defense once again. This one is on the road as well. Just a really, really difficult scenario for Alabama. You would have to be crazy to pick the Crimson Tide to win this game on the road, especially in year two under Kalen DeBoer, which is exactly why that's what we're going to do. I think that this could very well be one of the biggest upsets of the season. Really, just people aren't expecting it. But we believe that the Crimson Tide will go on the road and upset Georgia in week five.
Definitely one of our bolder takes, considering that Alabama won last year, but it was a back and forth game, and Georgia was arguably the better team. And this year, I think Georgia is going to take a bit of a step back. I think Gunnar Stockton needs to show some growth going into next season, and he'll have a couple games under his belt to this point where he's like the team has been built around him. I just think it's gonna be a little bit of a regression from what we've seen in the past from Georgia. I think they're exiting their top dog position in college football. And I think Alabama, with Ryan Williams and whoever is playing quarterback, is going to be able to compete offensively. And I think this defense is going to come back with a vengeance in year two under Kalen DeBoer. This Bama team is going to be legit next year, and they're not going to make the same mistake twice after beating Georgia. This time hosting Vandy after they pulled off the most shocking upset of the college football season last year, beating Alabama as the number one overall team in the country. They're not going to be able to do this again. Diego Pavia, even with him returning for Vandy, he's going to need a lot of help on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, Vandy is not going to be able to keep up with this Alabama offense. The Crimson Tide are going to keep on rolling and move to 5-0 after beating the Commodores.
Next up is a road trip to Missouri, and Missouri's a team that we honestly thought was pretty overrated last season. They had a really easy schedule and were seemingly overranked, but we think that this season after losing Brady Cook and Luther Burden, they're definitely going to take a bit of a step back. Even though this is on the road for Alabama, we're pretty confident that they're going to get this win and move to 6-0.
Following week against Tennessee, the rivalry renewed in the third Saturday of October. And this season, I think the rivalry is going to be a blowout for the Crimson Tide. With Nico Emalava leaving and transferring to UCLA, I think Tennessee is going to see a tremendous amount of regression, especially with the departure of Dylan Sampson and James Pierce Jr., one of their best players on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, along with their wide receiver room as well. I just think Tennessee is going to be a completely different team next year. Yes, their coaching staff is still phenomenal. I just don't think they're going to be able to compete at the same level that they did last season. Alabama's going to move to 7 and 0.
Yeah, I don't think Tennessee's necessarily going to be terrible, but with Alabama being at home, realistically, there's not much of a chance for the Vols in this one. I think they're going to take a significant step back, especially at the quarterback position, like Connor was saying. The next week, going on the road to South Carolina, this is going to be a really, really good game. Last season, Lenora Sellers really sold the game at the end, throwing up a Hail Mary with too much time left on the clock for that, ended up throwing the interception. South Carolina, if they had played it right, could have gotten into field goal range pretty easily and probably beat Alabama. This really is one where I think the Gamecocks are going to be looking for revenge. They are a really solid team this season. I already mentioned Lenora Sellers, one of the better returning quarterbacks in college football. Alabama, I think this is maybe where their youth comes back to bite them. They got a huge win early on against Georgia. I don't think it happens twice on the road. Give me the Gamecocks to upset the Crimson Tide.
Coming out of that bye week is not going to be that much easier game, especially coming off of that loss to the Gamecocks. You're going to be hosting LSU with Garrett Nussmeier returning after Bama beat them up last season at Death Valley. I think LSU is going to come back with a vengeance and is going to be a very tough team to play against, even though it is going to be at Bryant-Denny Stadium. However, I do think that in big games, Brian Kelly has shown, especially at LSU, that he's not been able to get the job done. It's going to be a competitive game. I think the weapons around Garrett Nussmeier are very, very lethal, and the defense is looking like it's going to be very good. I just think year two with Kalen DeBoer after the disappointing season by Alabama standards is going to motivate this team to exceed a lot of expectations because this Alabama team isn't getting as much hype as I think everyone is used to seeing. So I think they're going to be able to get a huge win and a bounce back win against the Tigers after that South Carolina loss.
Revenge has been the common theme over these last couple games. This time it'll be on the minds of the Crimson Tide playing Oklahoma, the team that cost them their college football playoff berth. The Crimson Tide get them at home this season, and that's certainly going to help them out quite a bit because Oklahoma is going to be much better than they were last season, even when they beat Alabama. They brought in John Montier, transfer quarterback out of Washington State, as well as Jaden Ott, a transfer running back out of Cal, who was one of the better players on the Cal team, one of the better running backs in college football. This offense is going to be elite. It's really just a question of whether or not the defense can take a step up for Oklahoma. I think they will, but Alabama is going to want this one. And with the schedule the rest of the way, winning this game could set them up very well for the college football playoffs. I think the Crimson Tide get it done and move to 9-1, which is really 10-1 because Eastern Illinois does not have a chance against Alabama.
And then the much anticipated Iron Bowl game against Auburn. Auburn getting a ridiculous amount of hype going into this season. Some saying that they may be able to compete for the SEC title. Some saying that they're going to make the college football playoffs. I don't think they're going to be quite that good. I think they're a couple years away from really returning to that elite level in the SEC, but they're on the right track. They have Jackson Arnold coming in from Oklahoma to be their starting quarterback, bring some new youth into the program. They've recruited very well, used the transfer portal. It's just a matter of putting the pieces together and actually having a successful season. We've seen the Iron Bowl the past few years has been pretty competitive. Last year, Alabama won 28-14. Year before was the incredible finish where Jalen Milroe threw that incredible touchdown pass on 4th and 31 as time was expiring to end the game. I think Auburn has been close. Rivalry games are always pretty close, especially in this one. And despite the hype being too much, I think this is a legitimate year where Auburn can pull off an upset win over Alabama in the Iron Bowl, especially at home. Give me the Tigers to beat the Crimson Tide to finish the season.
Yeah, this is has all the makings of a really, really great game. Auburn bringing in Jackson Arnold, quarterback out of Oklahoma, after the Sooners took in Montier, and they're going to be a really solid team. Like Connor was saying, the hype is definitely being overdone a little much, but they have a chance to beat some really good teams. And I think Alabama is one of those teams. This would be the Tigers' first win since 2019. I'm with Connor. I think that they get it done. Our way too early projections for the Crimson Tide: 8.9 wins and 3.1 losses. We predicted them to go 9-3. Prediction up to just a little bit to 10-2. However, the projection dipped just slightly to 8.7 wins, 5-3 in the SEC. The floor for the Crimson Tide going to be 7-5. Quite a few tough games on there. And if everything goes wrong, there's a chance that they could lose 5 games in the SEC. I don't think it's going to happen though. We like them at 10-2 pretty well. Ceiling going to be 11-1. I don't see them going undefeated this year. That's something that's really hard to do these days in college football. 11-1 going to be the best possible scenario for the Crimson Tide. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you in our next video.